I'm going to go ahead and jump right in because I'm super excited to be able to talk today about the two two products that are really the foundation of the power line, Beets and Greens, which is the line for that we really built for metabolic health. I'm going to really quickly take you through some of the foundational information that we have already covered, and I want you guys to think about metabolic health. I want you guys to think about metabolic health in terms of insulin control, what's happening to my body when I consume food. Because this is something that if you look at the world, when we consume food, we have an unhealthy response much of the time because we're so used to eating the wrong kinds of foods. This is a slide that it's actually super interesting for me. It looks at a study that was done on sugar consumption in the United States and the repercussion of that the sugar consumption in the United States. If you look at sugar consumption in the United States, back in the 1960s, we had relatively low sugar consumption as far as added sugar because we hadn't started processing our food yet. And as time went on, we started changing our food in terms of the way that we process it. We started adding more sugar, and that had some major repercussions on our health. And if you look at this graph, basically what it's showing is that we can tell a relationship between obesity and sugar consumption, but there's kind of a delayed effect. If you are a person who was fairly old, fairly elderly back in the 60s or 70s, even though the food changed and you probably started consuming more food that had high sugar content, you probably never really had a major impact on your obesity levels. But if you were younger, you can actually see that there's a significant impact on obesity levels as the person ages. And so there's kind of a delayed effect. It's not like more sugar starts getting consumed and people immediately start becoming more obese. There is an effect where you can actually predict, based on how much sugar a person's consuming as a child, what their future state of obesity will look like, which is something that I think is actually really, really interesting. This slide is looking at dietary habits throughout the world, healthy eating scores throughout the world, and it's a comparison of adults versus children. Now, if you look at the United States, we haven't been healthy for a long time. We're talking the 1960s is when we started to really include increased sugar consumption in our diet. So there's not a whole lot of difference between adults and children in the United States. If you look at Europe, adults right now in Europe, and this is that delayed effect that I was talking about as far as metabolic health, as far as impact on obesity, impact on metabolic health of sugar consumption and unhealthy diet. If you look at adults right now in Europe, they're consuming relatively healthy food because they grew up eating relatively healthy food. That's why they have a much darker blue color. But if you look on the graph where we're looking at children, now you can see that in Europe, children right now are only a little bit better than children in the U.S. or adults in the U.S. And this is a trend that is going around the world where as time moves on and we spend more time with processed food and high sugar diets and diets that are not metabolically sustainable or healthy, we're eating worse and worse, and the impact will be large down the road. That's why I showed that first study. It's not necessarily just about who we are right now. It's about what we will be in 10 to 15 years, because metabolic health, it's not an immediate thing. It takes time for our bodies to start to decay because of the poor habits that we have. And if we're having good habits, it doesn't necessarily mean that the next generation is, and it's likely that the generation after that will have even worse dietary habits. As a result of this spread of unhealthy diet, you can see obesity rates are very strongly expected to rise. This is one of those things. The U.S., again, we're leading the world as far as obesity goes. a great distinction for the U.S., but obesity rates are rising everywhere. And again, this is that delayed effect. They're rising in Europe. They're going to be rising even more as time goes on and we eat more and more of these processed foods unless we do something to change our health. As a result of increased sugar consumption, increased processed food consumption, it's not just obesity that's going up. Diabetes is going up dramatically throughout the world. Diabetes is one of those. It's a metabolic health disease. It's a disease that comes from lifestyle. Type 2 diabetes we're talking about comes from lifestyle, comes from chronic abuse of your body, basically consuming foods that your body wasn't meant to consume, not consuming enough fiber, too much sugar, those types of things. Because of this trend towards unhealthy dieting and worsening unhealthy dieting as time goes on, we're looking at dramatically increasing rates of diabetes throughout the world. Places where unhealthy eating is kind of just starting, that's where it's growing the most in terms of diabetes. Places like Africa, where they have limited education on metabolic health and what healthy consumption of food is, but they're starting to get all these processed foods. They're getting hit really hard. They're growing at the fastest rate of any country in the world at 134%. And these types of trends are continuing worldwide. The great thing, and you can actually see in the numbers that I just showed, you can see that metabolic health is within our control, because there's countries like Europe does pretty well, honestly. Europe does well because most of Europe is comparatively well educated on what nutrition is. You go to Europe, I was in Poland a while ago, and I was in the airport walking past a McDonald's, and they're selling more salad than hamburgers at this McDonald's, which is unheard of in the U.S. They have their salad, but their salad's full of fried chicken and salad dressing that's less healthy for you than the hamburger is. So in Europe, even the bad places are doing better than many other countries around the world. But this just shows that if we're maintaining some sort of a healthy diet and we're maintaining some sort of exercise, we can really make a big impact on our long-term metabolic health. That's why the growth rate for things like diabetes in Europe is quite a bit lower, even though they've had processed food in Europe basically about as long as they've had it in the U.S. They just have better education around what we should be eating. So we really need to embrace this education around what we should be eating, and we really need to promote it. Most of the people here at Synergy, we're kind of experts at diet and exercise and supplement use to maintain healthy body. We need to be sharing this knowledge. We need to be going out and preaching about health, preaching about metabolic health, preaching about lifestyle, preaching about diet, preaching about how to use our supplements to make people healthier, because this is a worldwide problem. This is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. This is like the first time in recent history that, in the U.S. anyway, mortality is starting to go up, such that we're living shorter lifespans now because we're sitting around in front of a computer. We're obese. We're eating high sugar foods. There's some major repercussions on our health if we don't continue to push towards what we need to do in terms of diet, exercise, and supplement use. One of the products that Synergy has that I'm very proud of this product, is our Pro 360 Greens product. The big thing with Pro 360 Greens, as far as metabolic health goes, is those 2 servings of vegetables that comes with a whole array of healthy micronutrients. And I'm not just talking about like vitamin C and minerals, vitamins, minerals, those kinds of things. I'm talking about phytonutrients from the plants, all these healthy things that our body needs to have a diversity of in order to be as efficient and as optimal as possible as far as function. As far as pure metabolic health goes, there's very few things that you can do that have a bigger impact on improving metabolic health than eating more vegetables. This is well established, well known. Vegetable consumption leads to increased metabolic health. just by virtue of the two servings of vegetables, you're going to have increased metabolic health. This is big because there's no other supplement product on the market that gives you two servings of vegetables in a single serving of this product. But it's not just the vegetables. We're going to talk a little bit about how greens and beets are meant to work together. And in order to do that, I want you guys to remember these adaptogens. I want you to remember the next slide, the phytonutrients that are in this product. We're not going to talk about them a ton here. The reason why these adaptogens are in this product is because we want you to feel the product. That's like the number one first reason why they're in there. A second reason why they're in this product, why we specifically chose these adaptogens and nootropics, is because they work with beets to enhance the performance of beets, and beets then feeds back in and enhances the performance of greens. Here's those phytonutrients. Again, we have a lot of phytonutrients in this product coming from the actual fruit and vegetable content, specifically the vegetable content. But we added additional phytonutrients because we wanted them to have a specific function to work synergistically with beets. That's the main reason why we have the quercetin, the curcuminoids, the bioflavonoids in there, is to work well with beets. We know that you're getting your phytonutrients, but we wanted to have enough of these specific ones to do things like enhance blood flow in a mechanistically different way than beets is enhancing blood flow. Performance Beets, Pro 360 Performance Beets is one of the most powerful products that I've used. I use this one on a regular basis. This is your cardiovascular product. And when we're talking about beets, we're talking about nitric oxide. Beets are that source of nitrates, converts into nitric oxide. It's a signal molecule that enhances my blood flow, basically. It causes my blood vessels to expand, to dilate, so I can have more blood flowing through my body at any given time. This is one of those products that is truly a unique health promoting product. It is not just beets. It is not just blood flow. It is multiple mechanisms of enhancing blood flow that work together to create a product that, as far as cardiovascular health, is really unparalleled. This could be called performance cardio or something if we wanted to call it that. We're calling it beets because that's kind of the hero ingredient. It is a cardiovascular product that truly makes a difference as far as some of the key parameters in metabolic health. If you're looking at metabolic health, some of the key parameters are things like blood pressure, things like blood lipid levels, and these really relate to cardiovascular health, and that's where this product can have some major benefit. And I really want to highlight this concept of giving some blood flow benefits of exercise, because this is a big one. Not everybody is exercising all the time. Not everybody's in the gym all the time. We need to be exercising. We need to be moving. We need to be getting our blood flowing. We can do some of those things just by taking beets. That's one of the reasons why it's so powerful as far as cardiovascular health. This product on its own gives us some of those same cardiovascular benefits. It is a truly powerful product. I love this product because I feel amazing when I take it. I love this product because it's helped me personally, as far as my cardiovascular health, maintain a healthy blood pressure level, which has been something that I struggle with genetically. I have this product and I don't struggle with it anymore as long as I'm taking my beets. The key components of beets, again, I mentioned the beetroot. That's the key primary component as far as dietary nitrates. Dietary nitrates get converted into first nitrites and then eventually into nitric oxide, which is that key signaling molecule. There's also this blend of polyphenols basically in this product and blend of vitamins and minerals. The polyphenols are really important because they work together to enhance blood flow in a way that's mechanistically distinct from the nitric oxide. So it gives us multiple mechanisms for enhancing blood flow, but it also reduces overall oxidative stress in our body. This is something that has some major effects that we're going to talk about in a little bit. As far as just purely blood flow goes, it helps preserve the effect of the product. As I mentioned, the whole point of this talk is to really emphasize the value of beets and greens when taken together. These products were literally built to be used together. They have nutrients in them that complement each other, that work synergistically with each other. So much so that we have people say, I take a half a serving of beets and half a serving of greens every day. To me, that feels amazing. That's powerful. And that gives me all the results that I need with just a half a serving of each one. That complementary effect is so strong that it actually can help some people lower the dose that they need and still get those same powerful effects. I'm going to talk a little bit about the difference between good and bad diet and what it does to your body as far as gut health, because I want to really start out with gut health here, because a lot of our health starts out in the gut. This is something we know this. I mean, Synergy, we've been involved in gut health for a long time, so we know this. When I consume healthy food, when I consume a wide variety of polyphenols, when I consume a wide variety of dietary fibers, especially soluble dietary fibers, I'm helping feed a diverse microbiome. I'm feeding all of the little bacteria, all of the little microorganisms in my gut that I want to have in my gut. This allows those beneficial bacteria to have a competitive advantage. They're going to be able to grow when other bacteria that I don't want in my system so much are limited because they don't have the same food supply. This creates a whole array of different small molecules. When the bacteria in my gut are consuming, they're helping me break down food. They're creating their own metabolic byproducts. My body is using those metabolic byproducts for a whole array of beneficial health effects. Just things as simple as short chain fatty acids that are produced by bacteria that like to consume certain types of fiber. They produce these short chain fatty acids, particularly butyric acid or butyrate. That molecule on its own feeds the endothelium of my gut, the gut lining. It helps prevent leaky gut. It strengthens the barrier between the endothelium. The junction between the cells becomes strengthened. Just that one molecule can lead to significantly improved gut health. There's other aspects. There's gut-brain axis, cognitive improvements that can happen that can in turn feed back into my gut to improve my gut health. That's gut-brain axis. There's athletic performance benefits as far as nutrient absorption, things like that. If my gut is healthy, the rest of me is healthy. Yes, they can be mixed together in one glass. That's what I do all the time. There was a question, can beets and greens be mixed together in one glass? This is how I consume my beets and greens because I like the taste of it. Not only were they built together to work together well, they were flavored so that when you mix them, the flavor complements each other. And I actually think that's the best way to take them as far as flavor goes. So I love my beets and greens. I take them together and it amplifies the effect. And I'm going to talk about that more. Now, suboptimal diet, what happens when I'm eating junk all the time? You get this interesting feedback actually, because the bacteria in your gut, pretty much everything in your gut can consume simple carbohydrates. Pretty much everything in your gut can consume sugar, simple starches, things like that, things that aren't complicated to break down. Now, when I'm consuming, my French fries, when I'm consuming my high sugar diet, my processed foods, what I've done, or what the food industry has done basically, has processed everything out of the food that makes it difficult to digest. Yeah, that may make it to where I can digest and get energy quickly from my food. Mostly that just makes it to where I'm breaking it down and the bacteria in my gut are breaking it down so quickly and easily that I'm no longer giving a competitive advantage to healthy bacteria. Now I'm giving a competitive advantage to whoever can eat the most, whichever bacteria can eat the most, whichever bacteria can put out the most noxious chemicals, whatever it needs to defend its space. I'm giving an advantage basically to the bacteria that I don't want in my gut. And it's interesting because if I start consuming sugar for even just like a week, it can start having an effect on my gut, like a high sugar diet for a week. It can have an effect on my gut such that the bacteria start secreting molecules that get into my brain that tell my brain, eat more sugar. And that's how the bacteria keep asking to be fed, basically. So that's one of the reasons why we crave sugar. Whereas if we avoid sugar for a long period of time, for a few weeks, we don't crave sugar the same way. We don't crave simple carbs the same way. We're craving it because our body or the microorganisms within our body are telling our body to eat more of it. That's the reason why we're craving it. When I'm eating all this sugar, I'm not getting that diverse array of molecules, bacterial metabolites, all of these things that I need to optimize and maintain my health. I'm getting just a few bacteria. My entire microbiome becomes less diverse. I'm not getting butyrate. I'm not getting any of these short chain fatty acids, potentially getting more and more problems with things like leaky gut, more and more problems with things like oxidative stress, more and more problems with things like specific inflammation within my gut that leads to pretty dramatic health effects. And it's not just in my gut, because as soon as I start having excess oxidative stress, that plays a role in other areas of my health. As soon as I start having excess inflammation in my gut, that leads to other areas of poor health because it spreads throughout my body. It changes my immune system, my immune function, because 70% of our immune system is in my gut. When I start to change all of these different areas as far as oxidative stress, inflammation, microbiome diversity, all of these things, it changes my immune system. Gut is critically important. What we're eating is critically important. And having that foundationally nutritional diet it's not just about when I eat healthy, I'm not going to gain weight. It's not just about when I eat healthy, it has a positive impact on my metabolic health. I eat healthy, it has a positive impact on every aspect of my health because there's so many ties between metabolic health, inflammation, gut permeability, all of these things that we need to be aware of. I wanted to talk a little bit more about oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is one of those things that we do not pay enough attention to. And part of the reason is we started to talk about antioxidants as like something everybody should be taking all the time because it will eventually make you healthier in so many different ways. Yes, antioxidants are important. They're critically important. But when we started to talk about antioxidants as kind of a panacea, and people started to then eventually say, you know what, they're not a total panacea. You can actually take too much antioxidants, things like that, which most people don't have any problem with. We started to kind of lose the importance of oxidative stress. And if you look at negative diets that we have, these high sugar, high processed food diets, they have a dramatic increase on our oxidative stress level. Sugar itself is an oxidizing molecule. If you look at hemoglobin A1C, which is the measure of how much our body is able to deal with sugar, or how well our body is able to deal with sugar that we're consuming. Basically what that is oxidized hemoglobin, in which sugar is oxidized and attached to hemoglobin. And they're measuring how much damaged hemoglobin we have in our body at any given time. That measures kind of roughly what our blood sugar level was over the course of the last 90 days. That's what hemoglobin A1C is. It's a 90-day measure of our blood sugar based on oxidized and damaged hemoglobin. If sugar can oxidize and damage hemoglobin, it can oxidize and damage other molecules in our body. Overall oxidative stress, which goes up when we're consuming these types of foods, damages our body. So much so that back in, I think, 2004, I was working on medications, pharmaceutical medications for Alzheimer's. This is back when I was in the pharmaceutical industry. And we were talking about Alzheimer's as diabetes type 3. And this is something that's actually going, it's not just in the science field anymore. This is something that, it's being talked about all the time online, nutritionist podcasts, well-known common knowledge now. Oxidative stress from unhealthy diet is leading to dementia. It's damaging our brain. That's what this slide is talking about. You have oxidative stress, you have damage in your brain, you have reduced cognitive function, you have increased inflammation, increased systemic inflammation. This is one of the reasons why when people get sick, they're getting sicker than they should if they are not metabolically healthy. Their own body is causing damage because their immune response is overly inflammatory. So their own body causes damage that worsens the disease. Now I want to talk about some of the ingredients in a little bit more detail in both beets and greens, but we're going to start out talking about greens. Schizandra is kind of the key adaptogen slash nootropic that is in the Pro 360 greens. People don't realize the quantity of Schisandra that's in there. A lot of times people think, oh, you're just putting a little bit of these ingredients in there to help round out the story. Over 400 milligrams of a Schisandra extract in this product. That's a high quality Schisandra extract. This is enough that it could literally be a product on its own. It's enough that you're going to see effects from just this one ingredient. Schisandra it's interesting because there's a lot less research on it historically than some of our other adaptogens. If you look at things like ashwagandha and rhodiola, those ones have been researched for a long time. Schisandra was researched very heavily in Russia. It was researched very heavily in parts of China, but much of that research never made it out into the West. So even though the research has been done, Western scientists didn't really start to do research on it and start to learn about Schisandra until much later. So there is a significant body of research on it, but there's a lot less than some of these other ones. Schisandra has a very strong effect on things like cortisol levels. Cortisol is your stress hormone. When you have chronically high levels of cortisol, basically your body is feeling stressed all the time. We have cortisol as an intentional response to short-term stress. Cortisol levels increase as an intentional result to short-term stress, but we're under chronic stress all the time. We cause ourselves stress by having an unhealthy diet. This increased oxidative stress causes stress on our body, which causes increased cortisol levels. Our mood, our cognitive, where we're at in our head, that has a major impact on cortisol levels. If we have a due date for work and we're really feeling pressure from our boss, our cortisol levels are spiking. Every day, all day long, we have stress that we're causing ourselves because of work, because of responsibilities, and then we're eating food that is causing a different mechanism to create physiological stress. Many people have chronically high cortisol levels. This leads to problems sleeping. This leads to problems with weight gain, problems specifically with weight gain around the middle, visceral fat, which is the least healthy kind of fat. Having an ingredient that reduces cortisol can be critical. But as far as in conjunction with our Pro 360 Beets, Schisandra is actually a really important ingredient because Schisandra on its own can enhance blood flow mechanistically different than ingredients that are in beets. So you get an increased blood flow effect when you consume beets and greens together, but not just that increased blood flow effect. Schisandra is responsible for much of the mood benefit that is associated with our greens. You have this increased blood flow. You have some blood flow that's actually directed towards the brain because of the Schisandra. And then you have a mood benefit, which is reinforced by our Beets product, our Pro 360 Beets. Because when I'm eating beets, I'm getting increased oxygen flow to my brain. And when I'm getting increased oxygen flow to my brain because of the increased blood flow, that also helps build on mood. That helps me feel better. It helps me feel more focused. So these really work synergistically well. We're going to talk about green tea a little bit. This is one of those, so glad that we put this ingredient in there because it's super important for the function of the product. But it's a little bit annoying because now on the label we have this, don't consume more than one serving a day of this product because of green tea. Because in Europe, they have a limit on green tea extract consumption up to like 800 milligrams a day is the limit, I think. Because of that, we have to put this warning on the label about Pro 360 Greens, which has, I think, 250 milligrams of this green tea extract. So even if you took 2 servings a day, you're still well below the European amount. But it's a cautionary thing saying, hey, make sure that you're not combining a whole bunch of green tea extracts. So be careful. This has the correct amount of green tea in it. It has enough to significantly enhance the benefit of not just the Pro 360 Greens, but also the Pro 360 Beets. This is the green tea extract in here. This is another one of those things we get questions on. How much caffeine does it have? Because people are used to drinking green tea. It has caffeine. This is not a caffeinated extract. It's actually a decaffeinated extract. It's not so much that it's decaffeinated because we care that there's caffeine. We didn't really want caffeine in here. It has enough energy and whatnot without caffeine. But the reason why it doesn't have caffeine in it is because the way that it's extracted is optimized for taking out specific polyphenols. So we are pulling out catechins, we're pulling out EGCG, we're pulling out polyphenols from green tea, and we don't care about the caffeine. That's not part of the health function, the green tea extract that is in Pro 360 Greens. It's standardized to, I believe, 80% polyphenols, 45% EGCG. EGCG is kind of the superhero catechin in green tea that's responsible for a lot of the health benefit that's associated with green tea, that's been the most studied for the health benefit associated with green tea. When people talk about green tea, they talk about things like weight loss. Well, a lot of that comes because of EGCG, and that has to do with increasing base metabolic rate, increasing your energy levels. EGCG, this green tea extract, works with the schizandra in Pro 360 Greens. It works with the schizandra to give you energy, to make this a product you can feel. If I have a product like Pro 360 Beets, which is a product that is built to give you significant energy, potentially help you with sport performance, help you with cardiovascular health, how can EGCG work in that context as well? EGCG, with Pro 360 Beets, we have this group of micronutrients. These micronutrients are specifically associated with something called the Krebs cycle. That's basically the cycle that your body uses to metabolize carbohydrates and eventually proteins into ATP to create energy for our body. This is something that happens in the mitochondria. When we talk about mitochondrial efficiency, we're basically talking about how well our mitochondria can convert one fuel source into another fuel source, the food that we're consuming into ATP, which our body can use. Enhancing mitochondrial efficiency is super important because it makes us feel more energetic. From a sports nutrition standpoint, this is one of the limiting factors to how far and fast we can push our body before we start to fail. So we have all these micronutrients in Pro 360 Beets that are specifically associated with the Krebs cycle, allow our mitochondria to work more efficiently. Green tea extract, and not just green tea extract in general, but the quantity of green tea extract that we have in our Pro 360 Greens is sufficient to have a dramatic impact on mitochondrial efficiency. It helps work with these other nutrients, enhance mitochondrial efficiency to give us more energy. And now it also does another thing that's actually quite interesting. It helps activate the enos pathway in our body. If we know anything about proarginine, which you guys had better know about proarginine because you're synergy people. You know, proarginine, if you don't know about proarginine, you're a synergy person. I don't know what to tell you. So enos is endothelin nitric oxide synthase, an additional mechanism for enhancing blood flow. Really, if you were to throw proarginine into the mix with beets and greens, it would again build additional synergy because you're having another mechanism for enhancing blood flow that's activated by the catechins in green tea so that you have an even better effect from proarginine, from our beets, and from our greens. So they really build on each other. So EGCG is a super important molecule that helps with the weight management effects of Pro 360 Greens, which are one of the main reasons why I love it, because I think it's a great product for helping me with satiety. I take it with my beets at around 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I eat less dinner. I've been able to be much healthier as far as my body weight goes. I get more mitochondrial efficiency, increased base metabolic rate. Base metabolic rate is how many calories I'm burning every day. When I am burning 1,000 calories a day, just sitting down doing nothing, I'm probably burning about 1,400 or 1,500 calories a day, including my normal activity. If I increase my base metabolic rate, which when I'm talking about mitochondrial efficiency, that's kind of what that translates to in real world terms. Increased mitochondrial efficiency leads to increased base metabolic rate. Instead of burning 1,100 or 1,000 calories, I might be burning 1,100 or 1,200 calories. That is a big difference in my daily caloric burn. With my additional calories I get from moving around and whatnot, I'm instead of burning 1,500, I'm burning around 1,700. This makes a huge difference. For me, it's great because that means I can eat more food, which I love. I love eating food, so I can eat more food. I can also more easily manage my body weight goals, because one of the hardest things is limiting your intake. If you don't have to limit quite as much, you're doing better. With beets and greens together, there are specific polyphenols in greens that synergize with beets. They synergize with beets because they enhance blood flow. That's both EGCG, that's the schizandra, that is the anthocyanins in the bilberry, that's quercetin. These polyphenols that we specifically put in greens create synergy. They work with beets to enhance the function of beets. Not only is the increased blood flow beneficial as far as making beets work better, it is beneficial as far as making greens work better because you get that enhanced mood effect. You get that enhanced energy effect. You get stacking synergy between the two such that they just work better together. These are truly a strong team for supporting metabolic health, but supporting metabolic health in a way that you can feel. You just feel better when you take these products. That's why I love these products together, because I feel it right away. And that's so critically important for convincing somebody to make a change in their lifestyle. If I'm giving somebody a product that in 60 to 90 days is going to make them more healthy, but they're not going to feel it for 60 to 90 days, how are they going to continue to work with this product? Now, with beets and greens, I have product that you feel right away because your mood, your energy, all of these advantages that you get from increased blood flow and from these nootropics and adaptogens that are in this product, the stress reduction, things like that. But you also get long-term benefits from these products. Long-term benefits as far as cardiovascular health, long-term benefits as far as your body's ability to process some of the food that we eat, long-term benefits as far as microbiome support. We talked about gut health and inflammation in our gut and oxidative stress, those types of things. Beets and greens together, I have an amazing blend of fiber. I have my FOS from my beets. I have my upcycled fiber from my greens. I have a truly powerful blend of prebiotic fibers that are going to help my microbiome grow in the right way. I also have a diverse array of polyphenols that also are prebiotic in nature that my microbiome breaks down. This is one of those misconceptions about microbiome. People think, well, if I eat a little bit of fiber, my microbiome is going to be fine. And then they go out to the store and they buy some psyllium husk. And that's what they buy and they consume and they say, I'm doing great. Or in the US, they might buy benefiber, which is just wheat dextrin. It's soluble, it dissolves clear, but it doesn't do anything for my microbiome. It doesn't do anything for my metabolic health, really. This combination of fiber and polyphenols, I'm getting a diversity of fiber. So it feeds a diverse array of microbes that are beneficial within my body, and not just that fiber. I'm getting a diverse array of micronutrients, polyphenols, things that are both added to the products and things that are naturally found in the beets, in the spinach, in the kale, in the variety of different fruits and vegetables that I would find in these products. So really, truly supporting my overall gut health, which leads to long-term health, a 90-day transformation. If I'm looking at changing my gut health, it doesn't happen right away. I need to be consistent with beets and my greens for 90 days, and then I'm going to start seeing some major effects. But again, I feel it from the first day I take it. I have other health benefits as far as weight management. I have other health benefits as far as cardiovascular health. These really work together to be a total health system that's truly powerful. We have some combinations. It's not just beets and greens that work well together. We talked a little bit about Pro-Arginine, Mystify. I want to talk a little bit about Mystify first of these ones, because one of the problems with, for me anyway, consuming large amounts of fruit, and this is more in my head than reality, and it's because I was on keto for a long time, and it's really hard for me to say, fruit good because fruit has sugar. Fruit is good, even though it has sugar, because it has so much fiber. Now, Mystify, the great thing about Mystify is when you're looking at Mystify, you're looking at berries. You're looking at things that naturally have high fiber, low sugar. You're looking at superfoods that have high polyphenol content. Berries are healthy because of the sugar to fiber ratio, which is really, really beneficial in berries. It means it has a low impact on blood sugar and a beneficial overall impact on metabolic health. But the range of berries that are in Mystify are so healthy because they also have a diverse array of very potent polyphenols that can help stack and build with what you would find in our performance greens. Phytolife. This is our chlorophyll product. People might say, oh, I'm taking my greens, I don't need chlorophyll. Well, sodium copper chlorophyllin is not necessarily the same as chlorophyll. It is a soluble version of chlorophyll. It is a version of chlorophyll that specifically sticks to certain types of toxins and helps remove those types of toxins from our body. That is very powerful because every day I'm exposed to toxins. Every day I'm sitting there breathing in air that has pollutants in it. I'm eating just the simple act of eating food that has burn marks on it. Like if I overdo my toast, I'm creating certain toxins that the chlorophyll and Phytolife can help me remove. And then proarginine. Proarginine it's been the foundation of Synergy for a long time for a reason. I mentioned how it works well with greens and beets. The synergy there as far as enhancing blood flow in a mechanistically different way, training your body to be able to work better, to be able to enhance blood flow more rapidly when it needs to enhance blood flow. There's so many benefits to proarginine as far as actually working with my own body to make my body better. We talked about this already, so I'm not going to talk about it in any more detail, but just because you have your proarginine doesn't mean you don't need your beets. Just because you have your beets doesn't mean you don't need your proarginine. They work differently. Beets is adding dietary nitrates to our body. Beets is directly increasing the nitric oxide in my body through addition of dietary nitrates and through these polyphenols Pro360 Beets contains. Proarginine, this is working with my body to make my body better at producing nitric oxide, to make my body respond more quickly when it needs to, and to give my body an alternative fuel source for this system to create nitric oxide as needed. They work differently. They work together. They really do have overlapping effects. The polyphenols in proarginine are part of what separates it from any other product out there on the market that uses an amino acid like L-arginine to support blood flow. When you combine it with the polyphenols in Pro360 Beets, it even enhances that effect further. E9, this is my sports nutrition go-to, is E9 plus my Beets. Performance Beets and E9 together is really an amazing combination. And it's not just like I'm getting energy. I'm getting power from these products. I truly am. This powers me through my workout. This powers me through whatever I need to really, truly perform at. I really love this combination, my go-to for my pre-workout. I'm pretty much out of time, so let's go to the next slide. And I think that is questions. Taking beets and greens to start your day is an amazing way to start your day. It is a great coffee replacement because it gives you energy without caffeine. You don't have that stimulant effect. It gives you real energy because it's activating your mitochondria. It also gives you real nutrition to start your day, as opposed to, most people starting their day with a breakfast cereal or, maybe beans and sausage or whatever. This is real nutrition to start your day. It's not really caloric, so you're not going to get like an insulin spike. It's kind of maintaining your fast to start your day, but it truly is giving you nutrition without giving you any of the insulin spike or blood sugar spike that would be associated with consuming most foods that you would eat to start your day.
Amazing, thank you. Okay, there's another one. Is it better to have your beets and greens simply mixed with water rather than in a shake, for example?
I'm not going to necessarily say better or worse. And for me, it kind of depends on what I'm doing. Sometimes I will mix my greens in a protein shake. Most of the time, I'm actually mixing beets and greens together with water. But that's not necessarily because I have to do that for best benefit. It's just because I love the way it tastes. You could add proarginine with beets and greens. And that's something that I've tried proarginine with greens, proarginine with beets. I've never tried all three mixed together. I need to try that. I'm going to try that today.